When fear begins to surround you, one of the most important truths you can remember is that God has not changed. Psalm 27 begins with a powerful declaration, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" David does not begin by describing how powerful his enemies are. He begins by describing how powerful his God is. That is where your confidence must begin. If you spend all your time focusing on the problem will become bigger in your mind. But when you turn your attention toward God, you remember that no circumstance is greater than His presence. There may be moments when you feel uncertain about what is happening around you. You may worry about people who do not have good intentions toward you. You may face criticism, rejection, financial pressure, disappointment, or situations you cannot control. Fear may tell you to expect the worst before anything has even happened. But faith reminds you that you do not have to live your life controlled by possibilities. You can place your future in God's hands. David understood that danger can be real without fear having the final authority. He said that though an army encamped against him, his heart would not fear. That is not the confidence of someone who believes problems never exist. It is the confidence of someone who knows that God's presence is greater than the problem. You may not know what tomorrow will bring, but God does. You may not know what people are planning, but God sees everything. You may not know how a difficult situation will end, but you can trust the one who already knows the end from the beginning. This is why you do not have to spend every night imagining every possible attack, betrayal, or disappointment. You can pray, use wisdom, take appropriate precautions, and then release what you cannot control into God's hands. Fear often tries to make you react before you understand the situation. It tells you to answer immediately, defend yourself immediately, confront everyone immediately, or make decisions based on assumptions. But God calls you to a different response. Before you react, pray. Before you speak, seek wisdom. Before you make a decision, ask God for direction. Your confidence should not come from knowing that everything will happen exactly as you want. Your confidence comes from knowing that God will remain with you regardless of what happens. Maybe you are facing a season that feels dark right now. Perhaps you are uncertain about your future. Maybe someone has disappointed you, or you are worried about what lies ahead. Do not allow that uncertainty to convince you that you are alone. The Lord is your light. He can give clarity when everything seems confusing. He can give peace when circumstances are unstable. He can give strength when you feel weak. And remember, God's light does not always mean He immediately removes the darkness. Sometimes He gives you enough light to take the next step. You may not see the entire road, but you can still move forward because He is guiding you. So stop allowing fear to write the story of your future. Your enemies do not have the final word. Your circumstances do not have the final word. Your past does not have the final word. God does. Stand firm today. Lift your eyes toward the Lord. Let His presence become greater in your heart than every fear surrounding you. The Lord is your light, your salvation, and your strength, so you can move forward without fear. When you are facing uncertainty, opposition, or a situation you cannot understand, the first place you should turn is not toward fear, but toward God's presence. Psalm 27 shows us that David's greatest desire was to dwell in the house of the Lord and seek Him. This reveals something important. Before David asked God to change his circumstances, he wanted to remain close to God. That is a powerful lesson for us, because sometimes we become so focused on what we want God to do that we forget to seek God Himself. You may be praying for protection, provision, direction, or victory, but the greatest source of strength is God's presence. When you know that He is with you, you can face situations that once seemed impossible. God's presence does not mean that every problem disappears immediately. It means you do not have to face the problem alone. There are moments when your mind becomes filled with questions. What if something goes wrong? What if someone betrays me? What if this opportunity fails? What if the future does not turn out the way I expected? These questions can create anxiety and make you react before you have all the information. But seeking God's presence gives you a place to quiet those thoughts. Instead of allowing fear to lead you, you allow prayer, scripture, and God's wisdom to guide your response. David wanted to gaze on the beauty of the Lord. There is something powerful about fixing your attention on God. What you focus on shapes your emotions. If you constantly focus on your problems can consume your thoughts. But when you intentionally focus on God's character, His faithfulness, His wisdom, and His promises, your perspective begins to change. This is why prayer should not only be a list of requests. Sometimes you need to sit quietly before God and remember who He is. Thank Him for what He has already done. Remember the times He carried you through difficulty. Read His Word and allow truth to replace fear. Worship Him even before you see the answer. Seeking God's presence also means asking Him to examine your motives. When you are facing opposition, it is easy to pray only for God to defeat the person you believe is against you. But God may also want to change something within you. Perhaps He wants to teach you patience. Perhaps He wants you to forgive. Perhaps He wants you to stop responding emotionally. Perhaps He wants you to trust Him instead of trying to control every outcome. This is where spiritual preparation becomes important. Before a battle becomes visible, strengthen your relationship with God. Do not wait until you are overwhelmed to begin praying. Build your faith in ordinary seasons so that when difficult seasons arrive, you already know where to turn. You do not have to live suspicious of everyone around you. You do not need to assume that every difficulty is an attack. Instead, remain spiritually alert while maintaining wisdom and peace. Ask God for discernment. Let Him guide your decisions. If something is genuinely wrong, He can give you the wisdom to respond appropriately. And when you seek God first, you begin to understand that your security is not ultimately found in your ability to predict every danger. Your security is found in the One who knows every detail. So before you face the next challenge, seek His presence. Before you respond to criticism, seek His wisdom. Before you make a major decision, pray. Before fear takes control, remember who is with you. When God's presence becomes your priority, fear loses its power and your heart finds strength for every battle. There are times when you sense that something is not right. You may feel uncertain about a situation. Notice that someone's behavior has changed, or simply find yourself facing circumstances you cannot explain. In those moments, it is important not to let fear turn uncertainty into suspicion. Psalm 27 teaches us to place our confidence in God and to seek His wisdom. When you are concerned about what may be happening around you, bring it to God instead of allowing your imagination to create 1,000 frightening possibilities. God sees what you cannot see. He knows every conversation, every intention, every circumstance, and every detail of your life. Nothing is hidden from him. That truth should bring peace to your heart. You do not have to discover every secret yourself. You do not have to spend your energy trying to figure out who is against you or what someone might do next. Your responsibility is to remain prayerful, wise, and faithful while trusting God with what is beyond your understanding. When David faced opposition, he did not respond by allowing fear to control him. He sought the Lord. That is an important pattern for us. When something concerns you, pray first. Ask God to give you discernment. Ask Him to help you recognize what is true and what is simply fear. Ask Him to show you what action, if any, you need to take. Sometimes God's protection comes by revealing a situation before it becomes a greater problem. Sometimes it comes through a wise person who gives you counsel. Sometimes it comes through circumstances that redirect you. Sometimes God gives you an uneasy feeling that causes you to slow down and reconsider a decision. And sometimes protection simply means giving you peace while you continue walking forward. You should also remember that not every closed door is an attack, and not every difficult person is an enemy. Life contains misunderstandings, disagreements, disappointments, and ordinary challenges. If you interpret everything through fear, you can become exhausted and isolated. Instead, ask God for wisdom to distinguish between genuine danger and unnecessary worry. This is why spiritual discernment must be connected to peace. God does not want you living in constant anxiety about hidden threats. He wants you to walk with wisdom and confidence. You can take reasonable precautions without becoming consumed by fear. You can establish healthy boundaries without carrying hatred. You can step away from harmful situations without seeking revenge. If someone has treated you unfairly, you do not need to become like them. Let your character remain strong. If someone speaks against you, you do not have to answer every accusation. If someone tries to provoke you, you can choose self-control. God knows the truth, and He can handle what you cannot. There may also be moments when God exposes something within your own heart. Perhaps you are assuming the worst about someone because of past experiences. Perhaps old wounds have made you suspicious. Perhaps disappointment has made it difficult to trust anyone. Ask God to heal those places too. Protection is not only about what God keeps away from you. Sometimes it is about what He removes from within you. When you pray for God to expose what needs to be exposed, be prepared for Him to reveal anything that needs correction, including attitudes, relationships, habits, or decisions that are not helping. You grow, so do not live afraid of what might happen tomorrow. Bring your concerns to God today. Seek wisdom before reacting. Pay attention to what He teaches you. Use discernment without becoming suspicious. Set boundaries without bitterness. Trust God without becoming careless. You do not need to know every hidden plan when you know the God who sees everything. When opposition rises against you, one of the most important things you can learn is how to stand firm without allowing fear to control your response. Psalm 27 gives us a picture of David surrounded by enemies, yet his heart remains confident in God. He does not deny that opposition exists. He simply refuses to give opposition greater power than God. That is the kind of faith you need when difficult people, accusations, disappointments, setbacks, or unexpected obstacles rise against you. There may be seasons when you feel as though everything is working against you at once. Someone may misunderstand your intentions. A relationship may become difficult. An opportunity may disappear. People may criticize your decisions. You may experience pressure at work or in your personal life. When several problems appear together, it is easy to think that you are under attack from every direction. But this is exactly when you need to slow down and remember who is standing with you. David says that when an army encamps against him, his heart will not fear. His confidence is not based on the absence of enemies. His confidence is based on the presence of God. That distinction matters. If your peace depends on everyone treating you well, your peace will always be fragile. But if your peace depends on God, you can remain steady even when people are difficult. Standing firm does not mean becoming aggressive. It does not mean confronting everyone who disagrees with you. It does not mean trying to prove yourself to every critic. Sometimes standing firm means remaining silent when silence is wiser. Sometimes it means walking away from an argument. Sometimes it means setting a healthy boundary. Sometimes it means continuing to do what is right even when nobody applauds you. You do not need to fight every battle that comes into your life. Some battles are distractions. Some arguments are not worth your energy. Some accusations will disappear if you refuse to give them attention. Ask God for discernment so you know which situations require action and which ones require patience. If someone speaks falsely about you, resist the temptation to respond with another false statement. If someone treats you unfairly, do not allow their behavior to change your character. If someone tries to provoke you, remember that your response is still your responsibility. You cannot control another person's actions, but you can control whether you allow their actions to determine who you become. This is where courage becomes powerful. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to do what is right despite fear. You may feel nervous, but you keep moving. You may feel uncertain, but you continue praying. You may not know how everything will work out, but you refuse to abandon your faith. Sometimes standing firm also means continuing to believe in God's purpose when circumstances appear to contradict it. A setback does not automatically mean your purpose has ended. A rejection does not mean you are worthless. A closed door does not mean God has abandoned you. It may simply mean that the path is changing. Do not allow one difficult season to define your entire life. You are not your failure. You are not another person's opinion of you. You are not the criticism you received. Your identity is deeper than your circumstances. So when opposition rises, take a breath and return to God. Pray before reacting. Seek wisdom before speaking. Keep your character clean. Continue doing what is right. Let God handle the things beyond your control. The enemy of your peace may want you to panic, but you can choose confidence instead. You can stand firm because the Lord is your light, your salvation, and your stronghold. When God is your strength, opposition may surround you, but it does not have to overcome you. There is a powerful moment in Psalm 27 when David chooses to wait on the Lord rather than allow fear, pressure, or impatience to control him. This is one of the hardest lessons of faith because waiting can feel like doing nothing, especially when you desperately want an answer. When you are facing uncertainty, you may feel the urge to act immediately, confront someone, make a major decision, or force an opportunity to happen. But sometimes the strongest thing you can do is pause, pray, and wait for God's direction. Waiting does not mean weakness. It does not mean that you are afraid to move forward. It means you trust God's wisdom enough not to move simply because you are uncomfortable with uncertainty. There is a difference between taking a faithful step and making an impulsive decision. A faithful step comes from prayer and wisdom. An impulsive decision often comes from fear. Perhaps you have been waiting for a door to open. You have prayed about a job, a relationship, a financial opportunity, or a personal breakthrough. You may be tempted to take the first option that appears simply because you are tired of waiting. But not every open door is necessarily the right door. Sometimes God protects you by making you wait. Think about how often impatience can distort our judgment. When we are desperate, we may ignore warning signs. We may accept less than what is healthy. We may compromise our values because we want immediate results. We may make promises we cannot keep or enter situations without thinking about the consequences. God does not want fear or desperation to make your decisions. When you wait on the Lord, you create space to listen. You can ask God, is this really the path you want me to take? You can examine your motives. You can seek wise counsel. You can pray for clarity. You can gather information and make responsible decisions instead of rushing because of pressure. Waiting also teaches you that God's timing is not the same as your timing. You may think the answer should come today, but God may know that you need more preparation. You may want the opportunity now, but God may be developing the character required to handle it well. You may want a relationship immediately, but God may be healing your heart first. You may want financial increase, but God may be teaching you discipline and stewardship before expanding your resources. The delay can be part of the preparation, and while you wait, do not become passive. Keep doing what you know is right. Pray, work, learn, serve, prepare, take responsible steps. Waiting on God does not mean refusing to act forever. It means refusing to act outside His wisdom. There will also be moments when waiting requires you to surrender your need for control. You may have done everything you know to do, yet the outcome remains beyond your hands. That is where trust becomes real. You say, Lord, I have done what I can. Now I place the result in your hands. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying a burden that was never yours to control completely. When you wait on God, you protect yourself from unnecessary mistakes and give Him room to guide your path. You may not receive an immediate explanation, but you can receive peace. So if you are tempted to rush today, slow down. Pray before you respond. Think before you decide. Seek wisdom before you commit. Let God direct your steps instead of allowing fear to push you forward. Wait on the Lord with confidence, because His timing can protect you from what impatience can. There comes a moment in every difficult season when you have to make a decision about what you will believe. Will you believe that the darkness is stronger than the light? Or will you believe that God is greater than everything standing against you? Psalm 27 gives us the answer. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. These words are not simply a reminder to be patient. They are a call to courage, faith, and expectation. David had faced enemies, uncertainty, and fear, yet he chose to keep his hope in God. Waiting on the Lord can feel difficult when you have prayed repeatedly and still cannot see the answer. You may wonder why the door has not opened, why the situation has not changed, or why God seems silent. But God's silence is not proof that He has stopped working. There are things happening beyond what your eyes can see. The waiting season may be preparing you for something you are not yet ready to receive. Sometimes we want God to give us the destination, but He gives us the next step. We want the entire plan, but He asks us to trust Him one day at a time. That requires courage because faith means moving forward without having every detail. Do not allow uncertainty to make you give up. You may not see the breakthrough yet, but that does not mean there will never be one. You may not see the answer today, but your story is not finished today. God is still able to open doors, change circumstances, provide opportunities, restore relationships, and lead you into a new season. But while you wait, be careful not to make your hope dependent on one specific outcome. Sometimes we tell God exactly how we want the answer to look. We become disappointed when He does something differently. Trust means saying, Lord, I have a desire, but I surrender the method and the timing to you. God may answer differently than you expected and still answer faithfully. Your responsibility is to remain faithful while you wait. Keep your heart close to God. Continue praying. Continue learning. Continue working. Continue serving. Continue choosing integrity. Continue preparing for what may come next. Waiting becomes powerful when it is combined with obedience. And when discouragement comes, remember what God has already done. Think about the situations you survived. Think about the prayers that were answered. Think about the moments when you thought you would not make it, yet somehow you did. Those memories can remind you that God's faithfulness is not a theory. You have already experienced evidence of His care. There may be moments when you feel weak, but God can strengthen your heart. Courage does not mean you never become tired. Courage means you continue even when you are tired. It means you choose faith again after disappointment. It means you get back up after falling. It means you refuse to let one difficult season define your future. Your darkness may be real, but it is not permanent. Your battle may be difficult, but it is not greater than God. Your waiting may be long, but it is not meaningless. So take courage today. Do not give up simply because the answer has not arrived. Do not rush because you are uncomfortable. Do not allow fear to convince you that nothing will ever change. Keep your eyes on the Lord. The same God who was David's light and salvation is still worthy of your trust. Wait on Him with confidence, knowing that He sees what you cannot see and knows what you do not know. Be strong, take heart, and wait on the Lord. Your darkness is not the end of your story.